Z-Cam introduced the E1 so videographers could have an action cam size 4K camera that can capture the highest quality footage possible. The E1's portable design allows it to be mounted in ways and take it to places that would be difficult to do with a DSLR camera. This is a 4K compact micro four thirds camera, and this is the 4K Z-Cam E1. It's the world's smallest micro four thirds interchangeable lens camera. The Z-Cam E1 is almost twice the size and weight of the GoPro Hero 4, but the E1 sensor is 9 times the size as the Hero 4's 1x2.3 sensor. That means the Z-Cam E1 will capture better video in low light and offer a greater dynamic range than the GoPro. And because the E1 is an interchangeable lens camera, it can be used with just about every micro four thirds lens available, from small pancake lenses to large telescoping lenses. You can control the E1's camera settings and functions using only its physical buttons, or remotely via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth with the Z-Cam app on your phone. Photos and videos can be downloaded straight to your phone, but unfortunately you currently cannot download 4K videos to iOS devices. There's a convenient viewfinder on the back to frame your shots, and when you manually focus your lens, the E1 will zoom in so you can see if the subject you're shooting is in focus. In photo mode, you can hold the shutter open for up to 8 seconds for night photography. The Z-Cam E1 has a time-lapse mode, and while you can control the frequency the camera takes shots and the number of shots to take, you can only select up to 99 shots or infinity if you plan to take more. That means if you plan to have a time-lapse for longer than 4 seconds of video, you'll have to keep checking on the camera until it reaches the number of shots you want, or it'll just keep shooting away until the battery runs down. The E1 did an admirable job with night lapses. You can hold the shutter open for up to 8 seconds, and with an f1.7 aperture lens on the lowest aperture setting, I had no problem capturing a time-lapse of the Milky Way. Video was sharper and cleaner than a GoPro thanks to its larger sensor, but like the GoPro, it's limited to a 60 megabit per second data rate, and unfortunately, it shows. Compared to a similar micro four thirds camera like the Panasonic G7, there's just more mud and a shallower color space with the Z-Cam E1. The G7 records 4K video at 100 megabytes per second, and you just have a cleaner looking image with a greater color space than the E1. Because of this, I found that I've had to correct the color and exposure, similar to what I'd have to do on the GoPro to really get good looking footage. And even though the Z-Cam E1 outperforms the GoPro in picture quality, it's hardly an action camera at all. Press a button on your GoPro and you're recording within a second and everything in front of you is in focus. The Z-Cam E1 can sometimes take up to 10 seconds to boot up, and your shots have to be framed, because being an interchangeable lens camera, it has a shallower depth of field. If you try to use this like an action camera, your shots will be out of focus and your footage will most likely be unusable. But the Z1 does an outstanding job as a fixed camera, and it was really easy to take along with me climbing, where space was a premium. I only got the best results manually focusing the camera, because continuous autofocus readjusted too much during filming. And whereas the GoPro is waterproof and shockproof with its outer housing, you don't even want to have the Z-Cam E1 out in the rain. That puts the Z-Cam E1 in a class of its own between the GoPro action camera and 4K micro four thirds cameras. The E1 is probably more suited as a versatile B camera. This would be perfect for snapping time lapses, filming in tight spaces, or capturing continuous footage of a subject to keep your primary camera freed up for your main shots. Z-Camera could really shake up the 4K video market if they increase the 4K data rate to 100 or even 200 megabits per second, because this would put it right on par with similar micro four thirds cameras. 60 megabits per second just doesn't do this interchangeable lens camera justice for capturing 4K video. I'm assuming that this currently isn't possible for the E1 because of heat dissipation in such a tiny enclosed body. I have to say I'm really impressed that Z-Cam can fit a micro four thirds sensor into a body this small, but to really get usable footage, you'll have to take more breaks to frame your shots than with the GoPro. And its 60 megabit per second data rate for 4K limits the quality footage you would otherwise get with interchangeable lens cameras. Its compact size is its greatest advantage, and I think with a little improvement this camera would be a clear choice for a filmmaker's arsenal.